edition presented by New Schools for New Orleans. You're joined by your host, Dr. Shaquille Ross. Today on the show, I brought back Professor Peterson, who serves as the CEO of New Schools for New Orleans, Dana Peterson. And we also have first-time radio show guest, Christy Ivy, who serves as Principal CEO of Success Prep at Thurgood Marshall over on Canal Street. All right, so excited to have both of you today on the show as we talk about our student success right here in our backyard in New Orleans Public Schools, according to the school performance scores released by Louisiana Department of Education just a few weeks ago, and to get a little deeper into the story behind the numbers. Christy, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I always love talking to you too, so I'm happy to be here.
Good. Dana, what about you?
I'm good. I want to go back to that Superfly as your. We need to have that as opening, and as our opening frame. That's how I'm feeling right now.
That's how you feeling right now? That's how the scores got you feeling?
That's how the scores got me feeling. That's right.
That's right. Now, Christy, it's your first time on the show, so tell us a little about yourself. Well, how long you been in education? Have you been at Success the whole time? What made you get into education?
Okay, well, I came to education through Teach for America.
Okay.
What
year?
2009.
Okay.
Aging myself.
We share that, Christy.
Oh, really?
We do, uh-huh.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. We got something else in common. I taught first grade in Greenwood, Mississippi for 2 years, and then moved to New Orleans.
Okay.
And I was hired at Success Prep at the time by Nola to be a second grade teacher in 2011.
On Bienville.
When we were in the old Albert Wicker building. So I've been with the organization ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what keeps you going, Christy?
I think when it comes down to it, I'm just really obsessed with teaching and learning. That's what keeps me really driven. It's a kind of a positive obsession for me.
Got it. Now, Dana, the weather's changing. You know, you got your good socks on. You know, we see him. All right. When the weather gets like this, Dana, what brings you joy?
What brings me joy?
Around this time of the year. Well, you know,
this
the
time of the year. Well, we just
December.
celebrated Thanksgiving, my favorite holiday.
Yeah.
And we're moving into Christmas, I guess, which would be maybe my second.
Okay.
My second
right.
favorite. So it's that time of, family, and so that brings me joy, and certainly, annually, right? Like we're here talking about something that is an annual process that is a measuring stick for our schools, and I'm just really proud of the work that so many people have done, and we get, we're privileged, you and I, from our role to get to be a part of it, to get to partner with folks like Christy and in her school at Success. And I think I'm glad we have her in the studio today because, as you talked about the story and the narrative behind the numbers, they've done an incredible job, right? And the overall story, the larger story, as you know, right, we are narrowing the gap between what the average kid in New Orleans has access to and achieves and what the average kid in Louisiana has access to and achieves. We're doing that in a state that's narrowing the gap between what the average kid in Louisiana has access to and achieves and what the average kid in the country has access to and achieves. And Success Prep, if you think about that, particularly over the last 5 years since COVID, they've been a real sort of, it is the, I think, quintessential example of that in New Orleans over that time frame. I think it's, double-digit gains over the pre-COVID score. And so without schools like that, we wouldn't be, that narrative I just laid out wouldn't be true without schools like Success Prep and the work that they've doing. And when you go and visit there, it just, you see it in action. You see it in action, right? So I'm glad she's here to really unpack that for folks, right, who don't get a chance to see that in person.
Yeah, and having been there for 15 years, I've been so fortunate to see the evolution over many, many years.
Got it. So. Now, Christopher, we dig in. What's bringing you joy right now?
Oh, what's bringing me? Well, okay. I play pickleball.
Oh.
I know, you know that.
I'm thinking about Tiffany Delcourt.
And I played with her before at the exchange. We had a funny moment of like, don't I know you? So yeah, just staying active, being outside.
All right. And then you like a diehard pickleball, person.
Look,
you go into the competitions and all the things.
I am pretty competitive by nature. I try to take it easy, but yeah, I really enjoy it.
Okay. All right. Janie, have you played pickleball?
No, I have not.
I have not either.
I'm gonna invite
We've
y'all
got
to
a
the course.
colleague.
Yeah.
We just talked about that. Like
She's a dial.
I'm
like
gonna get you hooked.
she's
I'm
all
gonna get you
in.
hooked.
She's all in.
But let's zoom into the topic now, Dana. What do you believe? We talk about this academic growth, especially since the pandemic, year over year, is not only happening at Thurgood Marshall, but we see it happening citywide across our city, and it's led to New Orleans Public School receiving a district performance score of a B. What do you think has contributed to this success?
Yeah. First of all, let's take stock of what that really means, right? Like this is the first since they started a letter grade score for schools and districts. It's the first time ever New Orleans is earning a B.
Yes.
If you had asked folks 5 years ago, much less 20 years ago, did they think a B letter grade would be possible for New Orleans public schools? Folks would have said unequivocally no.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So this is phenomenal, and I'll say yes. Is the accountability system changing? Yes. Is going to be more rigorous next year? Yes. Maybe or maybe not. We'll still have the B, but that doesn't mean that the success that schools just achieved
definitely
goes away. Yeah, right. It's a major point. We're only still 1 point shy behind our neighbors in Jefferson Parish.
Got it.
Let's take the B for a side. Put it to the side for a moment. Nobody would have thought that would have been possible, right? That we'd be closing that gap between Orleans and Jefferson parishes. I think a lot of things go into it, right? First, hard work of educators like Christy and the folks that work with her, kids and families, and the work that they bring to it. I think secondly, the money has mattered.
Yes.
The COVID money, I think we've spent maybe an extra $1,500 a kid over the last 4 years in New Orleans. I say this because that money's gone away, and we also have local financial pressures that threaten the growth. But I say even beyond that, because everybody got the COVID money.
Yep.
So what made the COVID money go further and get the gains in New Orleans? And I keep going back to the framework. I've said this before to you, right? Not being born and raised here, but I've been here 20 plus years. I'm a converted Catholic. I believe there are a set of values at play in our education system that to me are akin to an Apostles' Creed, like for education, right? We believe in the power, we believe in freedom and flexibility of educators to run the types of schools that families might be responsive to. We believe in holding those schools accountable for the learning of children. We believe in the power of families to choose among those schools, and we believe in equity and fairness as powerful policy tools to level the playing field. So things like differentiated funding formula, centralized enrollment system, common a student hearing office, system-wide needs money to invest in innovation within schools. All of that comes up to a framework that allows for educators like Christy to be in control of their world on a day-to-day basis. And that, more than anything, I believe, has contributed to what you see today in a B letter grade. So 3 years ago, we were in the legislature when the scores first dipped after COVID, arguing that no, we've got the right fundamentals, hold the line on what is that framework in law and policy, and it has proven itself to be true in the case. We've outpaced the state in that time frame on academic recovery.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think is contributed to it.
Yeah, I just think about the hard work, Dana, tagging on the piece with our educators, our leaders. They're on the grind each and every day alongside the students and the families who are putting in the work during the day and in the evening and on the weekend sometime. All those pieces come together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, Dana, while I have you, you've also, you get the opportunity to look at this work that we're doing locally. You look at it at a state level, but then you also get to bring in this perspective that's quite unique at the national level. All right. Now, when we look at the growth of New Orleans public schools since the pandemic, how does it compare to other districts? In size and demographic. Like our city.
Great question. Recently, a study came out by Harvard and Stanford universities. I say Harvard and Stanford. So put some credibility to it that I didn't just pull this out of thin air. But they looked at academic recovery between 2019 and 2024.
Okay.
Of the top 100 cities by population. In America. So
all right.
Top 100 cities, how they performed in 2019, and then the performance in 2024 in the rate of improvement.
Okay.
New Orleans has the second highest rate of improvement in English language arts, second among those 100 cities, and eighth in improvement in math of those 100 cities.
Okay.
So second in ELA, eighth in math, and one of only 2 cities that ranked in the top 10 in both categories. So that is evidence of what I said earlier. Like we're closing the gap between us and the rest of the country. So where are we right now? Like we are not winning yet.
We're not winning
yet.
I
say that all the time. We have not won yet, but we are the closer than anyone. The opportunity for New Orleans, we're closer than anyone to achieving this opportunity, which is we can be the first major city in America that gets it right for the majority of its kids who are largely Black and come from communities with far fewer economic resources. That is the opportunity that we have in front of us if we just stay the course. And by staying the course, right, is we keep people like Christy and others empowered to do their work. We keep in place, we're holding those schools accountable for outcomes. We keep in place families' ability to find the school that best fits their needs, and we hold the line on policy and fight against anything that infringes upon equity and fairness.
Got it.
Right? Hold the line on those things. Stay the course. Keep investing. We got to figure that out.
We got to figure that piece out.
We got to figure that piece out. Keep investing, and we're gonna realize that opportunity.
See, that's why I call him Professor Peterson. Y'all. He'll here dropping gems. He reading Stanford and Harvard articles. Look at him. Look at him. Now, Christy, we're going to shift gears and come to you. We talked about how the numbers have played out at the system level, at the national level. Dana just referenced, but let's talk about at the school level.
Sure.
What's your address on Canal Street?
4621 Canal Street.
4621 Canal Street. I know addresses are very important to schools here in New Orleans. All right. So how are you when you all receive the LEAP data in the summertime? How do you go about working through? What does that mean for you all as a school? Yes.
I would say my whole team is extremely data driven.
Okay.
So when we get those LEAP scores released, we do a couple of things.
Okay.
First, I always like to do a deep dive myself. I get in there kid by kid because as a leader of a small school, I have the benefit of knowing each child as an individual. So I look at it, and then really from the leadership team perspective, we start to analyze it and look at it from different angles. So we look at, of course, overall mastery.
Okay.
Where are our bright spots? Where did we hit our goals? And what can we learn from those teachers in those spaces?
Okay.
We look at where we fell short, of course, and we look across to see if there's trends in where we fell short, to see if there are bigger like programmatic or systemic solutions that we need to be considering. We also look a lot at cohort growth. That's really the number we obsess over, even more so than mastery, because I always tell my team we're playing the long game. We want our kids to be ready for rigorous high school experiences by the time they leave us in 8th grade.
Yeah.
But ideally, we have them from pre-K all the way to 8th grade. And so another thing that's really important to us is looking at the data in terms of differentials. So we break it out, look at how our multilingual learners did.
Okay.
How did our students, the IEPs, do? How did our girls do compared to our boys? And so we look at it really from all different angles to see what we can learn and what decisions we can make to address the trends that we're seeing.
Yeah. And if you had to give us an example, Chris, like some of the things that once you look at it, one of the things you may have implemented, can you talk a little bit about like something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can give lots of examples. I'll give you one. So I'm come from a background of being an academic, like teacher first, of course, and then an instructional coach. So academics, this is what I really love to get into.
This your jam.
It's my jam. It's my jam. So, for example, when our middle school scores were lagging, we were looking at it and we noticed that our kids were underperforming on type 2 and type 3 questions. Now that's where they really need to generate their own explanations.
Yep.
They need to model, they need to apply. So it's more like real world problems. as compared to how they were doing on top type 1 problems, which were more aligned to major content with fluency.
Yes.
And so what we learned from that data is we realized, like, okay, we need a curriculum that actually gives them more opportunities to do problem solving, to do discussing, to do
The
modeling
application.
and explaining exactly, to really like give them more opportunities to become mathematicians and mathematical thinkers in that way. And so we implemented a new curriculum. This year we switched to illustrative math. And so that's giving our kids a lot more experiences with applying, with generating responses, with discussing the math.
Got it.
And we're already seeing some gains from that.
Good. I love it. I love it. Now, Kristen, while I also have you, like as Dana mentioned earlier, Success Prep at Thurgood Marshall has surpassed its pre-COVID performance by 18.3 points. 18.3 points. All right.
Yes,
I think that's the largest gain in New Orleans too. I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in our 2021, simulated scores, we were an F. And in 2024, we were a B. So we're very proud of that.
Yeah. Now, what has contributed to the success over time?
Okay, so I've of course reflected a lot on this question. I think it's complex. Of course, I have an amazing team of really dedicated educators who are willing to be adaptable, who are willing to learn and grow and push themselves in service of our students.
Good,
and
growth mindset is there.
Yeah, there's really no replacement for just the hard work that went into the last 5 years. But I will say what I'm most proud of and what I actually attribute it to is we've really invested in social emotional learning.
Okay.
And I think that's something that sets us apart and something that sometimes people are surprised to hear me say in response to this question. Because there can be this false dichotomy.
Yes.
And sometimes, educators think that giving time and resources to social emotional learning takes away from the academic rigor of your program. But what we found to be true is they're actually mutually reinforcing. The 5 years that we've spent the most time really honed in on the social emotional well-being of our students and staff have been our 5 years of most steady, significant academic gains.
Wow.
I'm so glad you brought this up because I was thinking about this as we were coming to this conversation because, I've been in conversation with folks over the past, 2+ years where we really thought about our work and how we support schools to say, hey, yes, rigorous instructional materials and curriculum
the Tier 1 curriculum
and all the things. Yes, but with what we kept hearing from you and others, right, was this idea of how young people are doing, and how do we support them in being their best selves to receive all of that that we're trying to give. And, some folks have this attitude of that idea of social emotional learning and all the things. It's squishy, right? It's not. It doesn't feel as measurable as other things. But so I'm curious what led you guys to deciding that you were going to invest in social emotional learning and that was going to be one of the important levers that you were going to pull for your school and your kids?
Yeah, good question. I think we started this journey back even when I was in the classroom. I would say when we moved to the new building on Canal Street under Adam Meindick's leadership, we started looking for more formalized approaches, looking at curriculum. We developed a committee of teachers who are interested in exploring this topic. And so it's been in the works for a while, but I will say COVID really, for me as a leader, was kind of an aha moment where we realized, making student-centered decisions, putting student well-being at the center of all of this, that's nothing new to us. We're educators. But really, to do the same for staff during the COVID pandemic made such a big difference for us. So we practice social emotional learning with students. We also practice with adults.
Good.
And so we found that, when staff feel seen and heard and valued, that they do their most vibrant work for students. And that when kids feel happy and healthy, when they feel safe, when they experience joy, then there's no limit to what they can achieve.
Yeah.
Was there a particular subgroup of kids that this was more true for than others, or was this kind of universal?
No, I think our population has gotten more diverse, and what we've noticed is different groups of kids have become more integrated. There's less, particularly in middle school, we see it, as our population has become more diverse, but we don't see the kind of like the cliques and the divisions that we used to see before this was such a intense practice at our school.
Yeah.
Now, Christy, you got how many kids altogether?
480 about. Yeah.
About 500 kids. Mm-hmm. Just kudos to you on the work you're doing. Now, Dana, we're gonna come over to you a little bit. Now, not only is it important to examine the overall growth of our district, which we've been doing, we must also be intentional. Christy mentioned those subgroups.
Yeah.
The MLLs, our students with disabilities, our economic disadvantages, all those old pieces, they matter.
Yeah.
They come together to make up this portrait that we see. And so tell me, let's talk about how Orleans Parish is doing in those particular subgroups compared to the state and other, similar districts.
Well, the state measures these things, and we think it's important for that to be the case, so we can really see how young people are doing, particularly students who we think are farthest away or have been farthest away from opportunities over the years. The good news for New Orleans is we have, closing that gap that I talked about between us and the state. It's particularly true amongst these important subgroups of kids. So today, Orleans Parish outperforms the state average on performance for Black students.
Yes.
So Black students in New Orleans are performing on average better than Black kids across the state.
Come on.
We've narrowed the gap for economically disadvantaged kids down to 2 points, I believe. The average in New Orleans versus the average in the state, we're within a 2-point gap. We're within a 1.5 points on multi-language learners, which is a vast improvement on where we were just 2 years ago.
Definitely.
Because of some of the investments that have made. And I believe we're a little over 1 point below the average on students with special needs. So we're closing that gap and steadily improving among those particular subgroups.
Yeah.
The state uses a top growth measure. New Orleans, I think, is second highest in the state on top growth, which is basically measuring how those young people do relative to kids with similar characteristics
in the state
around. So, well, that's one metric of top growth. The other, of course, is our students on pace, as Christy said, on pace to reach the grade level targets by 8th or 10th grade. But for how they're performing relative to students that look like them across the state, we almost essentially closed that gap.
Good.
And again, for Black students have passed it. Now we still have to, that's the good news, right? The bad news, of course, or the sort of growth in that opportunity in that is, right, we still have a ways to go to close the gap between those students and the majority population, but we're well on our way.
Well on our way.
And I think just overall on the school performance score, we're within 4 points of the state average.
Wow.
Now, again, 20 years ago, we were 67th out of 68 parishes. Now we're approaching the median or average. I think that's phenomenal, and that wouldn't be possible, of course, without this subgroup performance because New Orleans has disproportionately the most African American students in the state, the most economically disadvantaged students in the state. I think surpassed most parishes on multi-language learners, and I believe roughly in the average or higher on the amount of students with special needs.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Christy, you have all these subgroups at your school. This is beautiful. Now, all right, so I'm going to connect the dots quickly for us. So when you're looking at the data, and particularly these subgroups, what's going on through your mind? What happens as you're going through the school year to keep a pulse on their performance?
To keep a pulse on performance, like a lot of schools, we really use formative assessment. So we look at literacy data in K-3. We administer a benchmark called TEL, and that gives us a pulse how our kids, our multilingual learners, are developing in reading, writing, speaking, and listening.
All right.
We have really great curriculum embedded assessments that we look at, and so throughout the year we're taking constant data on what our kids know and what they don't know yet, and responding to that.
I love it. And then. And Christy, how do you involve the families in that process? I know it just can't be done with you all, the leaders and the teachers and the students. There's got to be an extension. So what does that look like for you all?
Well, with families, we try our best to communicate and also to help to teach families how to interpret those, right?
Yes.
Because it's one
So
thing to
huge.
send home. Yes. It's thing to send home a very complicated data report. It's another thing to sit with them during a parent-teacher conference and break it down and say, this is what this means. Your kid is strong in this. We could use your support at home practicing this.
Got
and
it.
just, leveling with them, working on that partnership, really investing them as partners, not just, And so we really work on that. And then as far as systems, I remember, when I was in 2011, when I was a second grade teacher, I had our first.
I taught second grade too.
We have so much in
Look
common.
at that. Come on, Christy.
This is weird. I had our very first multilingual learner student in my class.
Okay.
She is getting ready to graduate from Carleton College this year.
I went to a program at Carleton College in Minnesota. Yes, I know about Carleton College.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Little small liberal arts school.
So when I think of like the experience that she had at our school before we had any of this infrastructure, I really reflect on how far we've come. We've built an amazing multilingual learner program.
Yes,
and
that could be a model for the city. I just to give you all the praise and the kudos. Just being like you're a single site, you're doing this work by yourself.
That's right.
There is no behind the office network office team like at Inspire, Nola, or Kip. You all are in it and doing it at the same time.
Right, and I think my team very much has the mentality of like there's compliance, but no, actually we want to be the best at this. And so we believe that any systems we design or instructional decisions that we make that really center our most vulnerable learners end up being good for all of our students.
Yes.
And what's the? I hope you don't mind, Joe. What's the? So we talked about we haven't won yet. We're not winning yet.
Right.
What's the one? If you could sort of say, what's the one thing I need to go and win? What's that one thing?
As far as like a resource, I mean, I think you named it, the money.
The money.
I mean, this doesn't happen on accident, right? We
No.
have a very robust multilingual learner department at our school, despite the fact that we're a small school. We have 5 full-time staff members that work within our EL department. We also have a very robust special education department, some really talented folks there. There's just no substitute for having the resources to put into human capital, to have the dedicated educators to do the work.
The money matters.
Money matters. Now, Christy, talk to me real quick. You get a lot of success. Have you been celebrating? Have the students been celebrating?
Okay.
How y'all celebrate over there? Can I come to the celebration?
Look, I always joke with my team, like, I feel like we're partying all the time. Like, it's
Good.
always like, oh, there's this Halloween haunted house we're constructing, or Friday's Grinchmas, Christy, you got to wear green. And so I would say we have sharing the best of what's going on has
Good.
become, and that's part of our social emotional work, right? Seeing each other, appreciating each other, celebrating our wins
Yep.
and incremental growth all along the way. It's become a cultural norm to really point out what's going well and to celebrate it together. So I wouldn't say, we didn't do when we got our B rating, we didn't do banners or T-shirts, but it's become a way of life at our school.
Good.
And I will say, my team, when I told them we were B, I was expecting the room to explode. And I kind of got like a polite golf clap, but I realized this has just become a way of life for us.
Good.
Yes, we love the B. We're tremendously proud of the growth that we've made in the last 5 years, but we're just getting started.
Awesome.
And I want that Marvin Gaye painting. Put that on the market. I'm going to bid for that. We can raise some resources that way.
I love
You've
that
seen
it's-
that when
it's-
you
No,
walk
I
in.
haven't.
Oh man, it's amazing.
Okay,
As soon as you
gotta come
walk
see
in
it.
our front entry, that's,
And part of celebrating, we had the opportunity just a few weeks ago to come over to Success Prep
Yes.
and see the library makeover, which was
Yes.
in partly done with All-State Sugar Bowl and College Football Playoff Foundation.
Yes.
And we just hope that goes, such a long way for you all as a community. That we care about the work what's going on at Success Prep.
It is incredible. It's so important. I think, again, going back to resources, for kids to look around and see their worth and their brilliance
Yes.
reflected back to them in something like, facilities.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Professor Peterson and Christy Ivy, for joining us today on Talk That. Nola Education presented by New Schools for New Orleans. It was a pleasure having both of you on the show. Chris, you did
Thank you.
excellent job for your first time.
Yeah, this is
All
fun.
right.
Yeah.
Next week, we'll be joined by Kathleen Harris from NSNO and Dr. Candace Robertson, along with Dr. Shayla Guidry from Nola Public Schools, as we chat more about how both organizations are supporting a growing multilingual learner population within our schools. If you're interested more about what's going on, taking place inside and around public schools in New Orleans, be sure to follow us on Instagram, NOLA Teacher Community, and New Schools NOLA. We'll keep you all up to date with what's going on. This is your host, Dr. Ross, signing off. Peace and nothing but love.